Uncle Mark,
I probably less than you think.
I always make that assumption.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the Book of Mormon is that it ends.
The end paper at the back.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that it ends.
But today we may put an end to at least one tiny part of the Book of Mormon, but that's up to Uncle Dan.
I promise you, this is it. We're done with Third Nephi after this.
Oh,
Yeah, this is Third Nephi Part 3.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Which, if it feels interminable to you, imagine what it feels like to me. I had to actually read it.
Yeah, poor bastard.
So, just to catch up, when we last left, the fictional ancient Native American Jews known as Nephites, they had just gone through some shit.
Yeah, they
Many
lost a lot
of
of good people.
Yeah. Many of their major cities had been destroyed altogether, killing everyone in them.
Most of the
Other
Haas.
cities... What's that?
Most of the Haas.
Yeah, all the Haas. Other cities had seen earthquakes, insane storms, massive death tolls. What few survivors were left were then plunged into 3 days of total and utter darkness. And then a voice came over the PA of all the Americas saying, "Congrats, I'm Jesus, and y'all just won the fucking lottery because I didn't kill you, so you're welcome."
Right.
And that drops us halfway through chapter 10 of 3rd Nephi, the most important book in the whole Book of Mormon, which is kind of like saying the most important section of a local government's non-binding resolution to honor elm as the official county tree. Anyway, let's dive back in and finish this shit off because I can't take any more of this painfully boring book. So, chapter 11. Which is something we'll never be able to say about the Mormon Church. They will never file for Chapter 11. But going on, a bunch of Nephites in the land of Bountiful, which is apparently one of the lucky duck cities that hadn't been inhabited entirely by wicked people, so good for them.
Yeah,
I
but
guess.
you can't imagine what happened to Bountiful Ha.
Right, exactly.
Well, the nice thing about Bountiful is it's a pleasant little city, 30 minutes north of here?
It's just, for me, it's just a 10-minute drive.
Yeah, it's got a good rec center, so that recommends it.
No, it's actually Bountiful, Utah is a terrible place.
Yes, it is awful.
And should probably be destroyed by the Lord, but that's a different thing. Anyway, these folks survived the Jesus genocide, and they all went to their temple and were chatting, just water cooler talk about what they were watching on HBO Max and how 90% of their people are dead now. Oh, and who is this Jesus fella whose voice seems to be able to speak to all of us at once? What's that about? When suddenly, another voice, only this voice had a really thick heaven accent because nobody could understand it. And though it was soft and gentle as a voice, it pierced them to the center, whatever that means. So then the voice spoke again, and they still didn't understand. And then it spoke a third time, and this time the voice really enunciated clearly, and everyone finally understood. It was God, he said in his soft, piercing, almost not understandable voice. Quote, "Behold, it's soft and piercing. I don't know how to do that voice. Anyway, behold, my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased, in whom I have glorified my name, hear ye him."
Okay, why did he have to say it 3 times?
Oh my God. Repetition is all this book has at this point.
Because God is a town crier.
You have no idea. It gets so much worse. I chose not to get into it, but there's a point in this book where he says, "And I witness of the Father, and the Father witnesses of the Holy Ghost, and the Holy Ghost witnesses of me." And he goes through it like 15, 20 times at least. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, God speaks, and with that, everybody looks up, and like a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, Jesus descends from the heavens and lands among the people. Jesus, the man himself in the Americas, beaming down from the sky. And it explicitly says that he was wearing a white robe, which is so on brand for him, but probably meant that everybody who was watching as he descended got a pretty good view of his junk. So Jesus announced that he was the light and the life of the world. And though there had been no light or life, as though there had been no light or life in the thousands of years before he showed up, and everybody fell down and bowed to him to make sure he knew that they were good little slaves and he should not murder them like he had murdered everybody else. Side note, can we just talk about how important it is to Christians and especially Mormons that everybody gets to choose their own path and has total agency, but yet in all their books, God just keeps wiping out entire civilizations who choose wrong?
Exactly. And after what you documented in the last episode of what Jesus has done to this land.
Yeah.
And then he descends from the heaven like the marauding invader that he is, and they all fall onto their knees. They're clearly terrified of a violent death.
Yeah, like what you laid out just in part of Second Nephi was the entirety of the Old Testament level of destruction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Joseph Smith read the Old Testament and was like, hold my beer.
Hold my strong drink.
Hold my Ovaltine. Anyway, so everybody's pretty fucking impressed by this Jesus guy. I mean, he did just float down from the sky. And Jesus looks into the crowd and sees Nephi, our old buddy, son of Nephi, son of Helaman, son of Helaman, son of Alma, son of Alma. I'm going to keep doing. I didn't even write that down. That just came out of the old noodle there.
Well, you guys know how it is. Whenever I meet somebody new, I like them to know who my great 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 grandfather was.
Right.
I just think that's manners.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the begats. We need to
Right.
know. Anyway, Nephi was the best dude that they had, and so Jesus calls him up on stage and says, listen, everybody, after I leave, if this guy dunks you in water, that's special now, okay? It's called baptism. It's a very meaningful thing. And they all said, why? And he said, I don't know, shut up.
Look, just do what this fucking guy says. That's
Right.
right. He's proved his point.
Yeah. Jesus then calls 11 other dudes to have magic water powers as well. And by the way, one way that we know that this part of the Book of Mormon is unique is that Joseph Smith's Tourette tics totally change. Before now, every other verse began with, and it came to pass, as we discussed. Now that Jesus is here, though, we're switching to verilies. Holy shit! There are so many verilies, and not just one per instance like King James did. Here, it's verily, verily, I say unto you, the dreaded double verily. All the time. It's just how Jesus begins every fucking paragraph.
Which is crazy because we know that two verilies do not make it, and it came to pass. Like that's
right?
It's just maths.
It's just an old saying. We all know this.
It's just doubling up on something does not make it better.
Right.
You remember when in The Simpsons the school came upon a huge amount of money and everybody got what they wanted? And Otto, the bus driver, all he wanted was, those guitars that are like double guitars?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Especially in this case, but it does increase your word count, which must have been what he was going for. So there you go. After reading this book, I spent a whole day with my eyes glazed over, just shuffling around my house like a zombie, muttering, verily, verily. Andrea almost shot me in the head, but that part's pretty normal. Okay, so the Jesus World Tour has begun, and he's no dick. He knows better than to bore the crowd with stuff from his awful new acoustic album. No, he launches straight into his biggest hits. He does, and I shit you not, the Sermon on the Mount.
Oh my God.
Literally just cribs it, mostly word for word from the King James Bible, adding a few small flourishes here and there. For example, the King James Bible says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The Book of Mormon says, yea, blessed are the poor in spirit who come unto me, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Most of them aren't changed at all. It's just pretty much a direct ripoff. Now, 3rd Nephi chapters 12, 13, and 14, therefore, are basically exactly the same as Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. Except that where Matthew has the word verily twice, specifically Matthew 5, chapter 5, has the word verily in it twice. 3rd Nephi chapter 12, which is the equivalent chapter, has in it, anybody want to guess? 14 fucking verilies.
Say
Oh
20.
my God.
Yeah. So there's those 3 chapters down. You can, I'm sure that there are several BYU doctoral dissertations have been written about the differences between the 2 Sermons on the Mount. Just read the original. It's still boring and obvious, but way less wordy, which is much better.
I remember we did in a couple lessons in seminary, we did like a deep dive into the differences between the 2 Sermons on the Mount. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I want my money back.
All of it. Yeah, exactly. So Jesus finishes the sermon and looks out at the crowd expecting a standing ovation, but they clearly wanted more. So he hit him with, quote, I fulfilled the law of Moses, so now that's over. That's not really a quote. I don't know why I said quote.
Verily.
Anyway, I actually put it in quotation marks to indicate to me as I read it to you that I was speaking in his voice. But then I said the quote thing and ruined everything. Anyway, he fulfilled the law of Moses. That's over now, which is good because the law of Moses was stupid. But again, I will never understand why Christians, and especially Mormons, considering this, continue to read the Old Testament. Jesus says it's over. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, well, in Matthew, in the Bible,
In the real one?
yeah, he says he has not come to change the law of Moses. Right? He said all that stuff. Not one jot, not one tittle. It all remains in place.
Well, he said both things, but of course that doesn't contradict itself because it can't because it's perfect.
Right.
Verily,
exactly.
verily I
So-
say unto you.
But I didn't know the Book of Mormon said, yeah, all that old stuff. Just chuck that.
He's 100% clear. He clarifies that completely in the Book of Mormon. So that's nice. Then he launches into a whole thing about how, back in his hometown, he said that the great shepherd, had other sheep, but they were idiots and totally thought he was talking about the Gentiles. But no, duh. He was talking about missing secret tribes of Jews. These guys, the Nephites, and the other lost tribes. So take that.
Oh yeah.
And here's what's that?
I remember. I'm there, baby. Testify.
Yeah. And here's where we learn something about Jesus. He repeats himself, like a lot. I talked about it earlier. Yes, he blathers whole chapters of the Bible, so there's that repetition. But even when he's just saying new stuff, oh my God, he says it over and over again, but literally back to back to back, because Joseph Smith was a pathetic hack. So he reiterates that there are other lost tribes and that he's going to go to them too. And he occasionally pauses to remind everyone that they're supposed to write down everything he says. Are you writing this down? Good. So anyway, I already said this stuff to the people in Jerusalem, and now I'm saying it to you, and then I'm going to go say it to the other lost sheep. Did I already say that? Did somebody write that down? I better say it again.
I pity the court reporter of Nephi-era America.
Right?
That had
How
some
fast
kind of...
can you write on gold?
Yeah, how fast can you pound
court
these
reporter is
words
just-
into gold?
Yeah, using reformed Egyptian to keep up. It's like shorthand.
Yeah. Then there's this little nugget, a wink, if you will. This is chapter 16, verse 7. It says, Behold, because of their belief in me, saith the Father, and because of the unbelief of you, O house of Israel, in the latter day shall the truth come unto the Gentiles, that the fullness of these things shall be made known unto them. Get it?
Hey,
It's
That's us.
almost like that's talking about Joseph Smith getting this truth to us. In the latter days. Ooh, latter days. That's good. Write that down for later. Latter days.
A latter day. Tomorrow is a latter. To cut me off when it becomes a legal problem. Tomorrow is a latter day.
Here's the funny thing about the latter days. The original name of the church that Joseph Smith founded was just the Church of Jesus Christ.
Yep.
And or the Church of Christ, maybe. Which is funny. So he didn't intend to use the term Latter-day Saints when he first named the church, but after 5 or 6 different names, they settled on that one, on the longest, most clunky name known to mankind.
Well, then they kind of didn't settle on it, but now they have again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And in like 2 to 3 weeks from now, they won't again.
Yeah, once he dies, we'll see what happens. Then Jesus kind of runs out of steam, which is a theme in this book. Here's the thing. He's really losing his crowd. So much so that he accuses them of being weak and unable to understand him. He's like, go home and ponder what I've said. I'm going back to heaven, and then I'm going to go to those other lost tribes that I was talking about. Have I mentioned the other lost tribes? Anyway, that's what I'm going to do.
Well,
but
let's not forget, too, that this crowd that he's losing has yet to bury their dead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a rough time.
And or to
a little
locate
shell-shocked.
the living. Like they don't know if their families are still alive.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird moment. It's a weird moment. But I will say this. For a genocidal maniac, Jesus was an old softy at heart. So when he looked around at the crowd and saw that they were crying and giving him the puppy dog eyes, which it literally says they were, it doesn't say puppy dog, but yeah, he sighs and says, this is a direct quote from the Book of Mormon, "Behold, my bowels are filled with compassion toward you."
See, when you said he was running out of steam, I wondered if the local cuisine was upsetting to him.
Yeah, maybe.
It's exotic. He's not used to what's in the water.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is a sentiment that he repeats in the next verse about his bowels being full, this time with mercy, which is brilliant because now every time I think about Jesus' compassion or mercy, I know he's really just full of shit.
I wonder if he didn't understand that kind of the term of art for that is bosom. And right, it's kind of my heart and my chest and
hey, you know what? You just pick a body part and run with it. Why not?
Right, you just pick any part of the digestive tract, and that's where your love is.
Boom. Anyway, because he was so compassionate and or stopped up, he dug into his bag of tricks for one of his big crowd pleasers. I apparently can't say the term crowd pleasers. And he kind of looks out in the crowd and he's like, all right, do I got any sick people in the crowd? Sick, lame, blind, leprous, whatever. And so everybody runs out and grabs their grandma or, whoever they've got that, can't see or whatever and brings them up to the
500,000 people he just killed.
I was about to say, that seems kind of an insensitive question to a population you have just stomped on.
Right.
Anybody hurt?
Has anybody had a house fall on them recently? Anyone? Oh, a whole lot of you. Okay, well, everybody come up to the front, and one by one, as the infirm approached him, before you could say Peter Popov, he healed them. So that's a good trick. That's always a fun one. Then he said, now for my next trick, let's bring all the children up to the front. And they brought all of the kids up, and Jesus stood in the middle of them and told everybody to kneel. And then Jesus, quote, groaned within himself.
Nope, this is not going anywhere good.
Sounds menacing, but before you worry that this is an altar boy scenario, he kneels down himself and starts to pray. Now, do you want to know what he said in that prayer?
Sure.
Well, tough shit. Apparently, the things which he prayed cannot be written. Everybody heard it and apparently understood it.
It's just like, this is neither the time nor the place to hear what Jesus actually said.
Right. The last thing you need to know is the best prayer ever.
It's Trump tweeting out for like the last 4 weeks of his presidency. Today, the president had many calls and took many meetings.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Literally, the book says this, quote, no tongue can speak, neither can there be written by any man, neither can the hearts of men conceive conceive so great and marvelous things as we both saw and heard Jesus speak.
It was a perfect phone call.
It was a perfect phone call.
Wait a minute.
So-
He said no human mind can comprehend what we just heard.
No, the hearts cannot conceive.
Okay.
Maybe that's because the brains are the things that do conceiving. So.
And the
No one
bowels,
could-
the bowels are where the love is.
No one can imagine the thing I just imagined.
Right, exactly.
Like what conceivable combination of words can pass into the realm of unimaginable? Like
You got to wonder if he took a couple runs at the thing and just never actually got it written down in a way that he liked. So he was like, you know what, you can't.
and realized that he really was not that gifted poetically. That he had
Right.
no gift for rhetoric, as the rest of the book proves in spades.
Right.
Or that it turns out he just said, bless this food that it may nourish and strengthen us.
Yeah, it's a cop out, just like of curious workmanship is, right?
Exactly.
Like you don't describe the magic 8-ball. You just say, "Oh, it's amazing." You couldn't believe it. It's so amazing.
You guys wish you could have seen that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway, then he wept for a little for no apparent reason, and then he said, "Look at the children." At which point, nobody did that because they all were looking up because the sky was on fire and angels were coming down out of it. And
Okay.
the angels circled around the children, and then fire encircled the children, which was a little alarming. And the angels, quote, ministered to the children, which is also pretty alarming.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but I assume that now we've gotten to the altar boy stuff. Anyway, then let's see, where am I? Ah, yes. Then Jesus taught them how to do the Eucharist, which the Mormons call the sacrament. And he did it by blessing bread and, what the fuck, wine!
Oh.
It was wine! Jesus Christ, Mormons! We grew up having to do bread and water, which is so boring and stupid, which is perfect for Mormonism. But
Well,
come on!
I gotta say, after a city has been destroyed to the level that these cities have, I wouldn't trust the drinking water.
Well, there you go. Absolutely. But also,
Wine.
do you guys look? For more on how we Mormons were ripped off, you go and listen to Uncle Doug's talk all about the word of wisdom in episode 66. But trust me, we were ripped off. Anyway,
Yeah, everything good.
the fact that it's in their book is what just blows my mind. Anyway, then Jesus says he's going back to heaven. This time for realsies, so everybody be good, and everything gets really dark all of a sudden, and nobody can see, and when it's light again, Jesus is gone.
Oh no, is that serious? He just pulls a magician's trick.
That's the worst, the worst magician would be like, come on, that's pretty lame, Jesus.
I thought that he was going to fly back up to heaven like he descended, but it would be at that moment that all the love in his bowels released.
Hey, maybe that's where the darkness came from.
He would
I'm
just
not
rise
sure.
on a column of spattery diarrhea kind of on accident.
I mean,
It wouldn't
they
be the
said-
worst thing that happened to those people in the past week.
No.
They said a cloud of darkness. You may be right. Anyway, we are assured that he did ascend back into heaven, which I assume is the sky, because that's where he came from, and that's what ascend means. So I'm going to guess that the darkness was just so people wouldn't see his junk again.
Right.
And that's the end of episode 18. And at that point, I breathed a sigh of relief. I made it through Jesus' trip to America. Whew. But just to be sure, I peeked over to chapter 19 to see what the Nephites had to say about all of this. And Jesus came back! What are you doing? It's like you get these rock stars and their incessant encores, am I right?
Right.
Anyway, what does he do? Well, he teaches them the sacrament again.
Oh my God.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. One wonders if he just thought he was going to Cleveland and then accidentally stayed in the same place or came back to the same place. Anyway, he repeats a bunch of other stuff he already said, and then he starts to talk about Isaiah. Now, you might say to yourself, the Nephites wouldn't know anything about Isaiah. How would they know anything about Isaiah? Being on the opposite side of the planet and all. But that just means that you don't know that earlier in the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith steals about 18 full chapters from Isaiah. Just rips them right off. So
It's an homage. It's
they
not
all
plagiarism.
totally know
it's an
what
homage.
Jesus is talking about. And that's what he does. He steals a bunch of Isaiah now and a bunch of Malachi, like full chapters from the Bible. So that's fun. And at some point, we get to chapter 28, where Jesus promises his 12 main dudes that they all will have a free ticket into heaven when they die. But there's a twist. 3 of them turn that offer down. Mm-hmm. Now, Uncle Mark, back in episode 39, you talked about what they asked for instead. Would you like to remind folks what these 3 Nephites took as their non-heaven consolation prize?
Eternal life, which apparently, according to Mormon lore, means they are doomed to an existence of road work somewhere between Cedar City and Loa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They are
in
just
Utah.
walking the earth like fucking kung fu.
These are the
forever.
famous 3 Nephites.
And it's that chapter, I think, Dan, where he sends them into heaven to have a look, right? And they come back. They're like, oh, there were things we could not describe and could not understand.
Yeah.
Once again, it's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Great storytelling.
Cool. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. So there you go. They're still walking around out there somewhere, and
Along
if
with
you
John the
find them-
Beloved and Bigfoot.
Yes.
right? And if you find them, be sure if you can grab them for long enough, they'll give you their pot of gold.
They're kind of the Mormon X-Men, so just be warned.
More like the Mormon A-Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a problem, and if you can find them.
They're more like the Mormon AAA team. Deep cuts.
Oh my God! So Jesus, nearing the end of his time in America, launches into a whole big thing about how one day, a long time from now, this book will get into the hands of the Gentiles, non-Jews, not like all of you Native Americans who are totally Jews, and they'll read this, and that will mean that I, the Lord, have started gathering my flocks, and this book will restore the gospel to the world, and that'll be really amazing and totally cool. So anybody who's in that time period should definitely not make fun of this book because, it's 100% legit. And woe unto them. And also, miracles are real, and special people can totally get direct revelation, and prophecy is true. So, just for future reference. And then... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, is that the end?
No.
Oh, God.
And then, we're almost there, though. Don't worry.
Oh, my God.
Then Jesus throws in... I love this. He throws in a quick moment about not being mean to Jews, which I thought was nice and a little weird, but apparently he was prescient and knew that people in the mid-19th century were going to be like wildly anti-Semitic assholes, so he sneaks in that little chestnut.
Yeah, another major departure with Christian orthodoxy.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I thought that was cute. And then finally, Jesus skitters on back to heaven. Or to Japan or something like that to talk to another lost flock of Jews. Right. Who the fuck knows? The end.
Ta-da!
Of 3rd Nephi, not of the Book of Mormon. Obviously, that book will never end, despite what Doug says. Amen.
I love this idea that there's this list of tribes he's got to visit.
Yeah.
And that they must be ranked in some way. Because whether,
right?
I don't know if it's alphabetically or by righteousness, but somebody's at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
So somebody had their town destroyed and had to wait like 3 weeks for Jesus to show up.
Yeah. It's the tribe of Winston.
Yeah.
It's just still waiting. So,
oh my God.
All right. Well, that is over.
It is. It is. And
so
it will be a while before I venture back into this book. So
let's move on in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Woo!